Okay, well, good afternoon. Thanks for coming out. Just to recap last week and then moving on to Alabama. You know, again, great win. Why? Because it's win number 4. And so, you know, a great win. I thought, our players showed resiliency. We made some plays at the end of the game to win the football game. We had some individuals step up in some critical moments. I thought we managed the football game exceptionally well in terms of field position. You know, Michael Pilardi had 6 punts inside the 20-yard line, which is phenomenal. So we played the field game percentage, so to speak. But, you know, as we continue to move forward, we must take tremendous strides this week in practice. We must really improve as a football team. And that's got to be the point of emphasis in everything. You know, first and foremost, tackling. We had way too many missed tackles Saturday afternoon, and we can't have that happen. And we had 15 missed tackles. And for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish and working to be a much improved football team and an improved defense, our tackling has to take great strides this week as we continue to move forward. Just our overall fundamentals, you know, the small details, you know, body position, hands inside, using our hands, running our feet, catching the football, you know, little things that way. Thought we had way too many pre-snap penalties. That's a pet peeve of ours in our football program, is you can't have pre-snap penalties. Those right there kill you. It puts you behind. You know, we had, you know, 1st and 10 on the 35 at the end of the game, and we had an unfortunate 15-yard penalty that took us out of field goal range. You know, we never recovered. You know, and those are the small details that it's going to take to get corrected to win games down the stretch as we continue to move forward this season. Our special teams has to improve greatly. You know, we gave up the one big kickoff return. Fortunately, you know, there was a penalty on the play and they were holding. But again, we have to take giant steps moving forward with this football team. So improvement obviously is critical as we continue to move forward. I do want to thank our crowd. I believe we're 3rd in the country right now in total attendance. The atmosphere, again, was electric. Again, it provided us a spark, and it was a great home field advantage. You know, I think I know our kids have tremendous belief. And, you know, I thought Dave Lawson and Mike Sershin, our entire strength and conditioning staff, did a great job. And ever since Dave Lawson has been with us, you know, his program is 43-2 when we lead at halftime. And that's pretty impressive. You know, and that's a mindset. And we talk about the mental conditioning, the physical conditioning. Now going into Alabama, all that's going to be tested. You know, our mental conditioning, our physical conditioning, everything will be tested. Very deserving of being the number 1 ranked team in the country. You know, you look at them defensively, very impressive. Athletic, very physical. Best secondary we've played. A lot of press coverage. You know, very fundamentally sound, very detailed, everything that you would expect from Alabama. And then offensively, you know, they do so many great things. Big, physical, strong offensive line. Quarterback who's won a couple national championships, very poised, very confident. Great team speed on the perimeter, deep at running back. And again, they're the number 1 team in the country, and very rightfully so. So again, this week, we have to really continue to improve. Our intensity, our focus has to take great strides in moving forward. But again, very proud of our kids, proud of what we're building here, where we're coming. But again, now, you know, they have to understand now it's what you do with momentum. You know, the more you win, the more that's at stake. You know, and now you're putting yourself in position to play meaningful games into October leading into November. And that's what you work towards. And so it gets to the, you know, every new game is a new season, a new game plan. You know, every week is a new week. You know, that snap and clear mentality. And coming today, we haven't even come close to playing our best football game. And so everyone has to take, you know, accountability in their performance and their actions to get better this week. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Coach, in your career, is this Bama team the most difficult team that in preparation during practice that you've had to get ready for, maybe from a trying to gain an edge aspect during practice during the week?
Well, it's definitely a great challenge. Again, there are no weaknesses. They have depth everywhere across the board, from special teams to offense to defense, and they're very, very physical. They play with great effort. Their technique's sound. They just don't rely on their abilities. They're fundamentally sound. And then, you have a quarterback who can make all the throws. He's in control, big, imposing, physical offensive line. And I think where they've really taken great strides offensively is they have great perimeter skill and speed. So, yeah, it's a great challenge. It's really hard to simulate it in practice.
Their running backs, we had two guys run for over 100 yards Saturday. How do they complement each other, and how difficult are they to kind of contain?
Right. Well, they're similar in terms of stature-wise, and they play with a high level of physicality. Both have great speed. And, I think the one thing you can say about their program is it's what we're building here at Tennessee. It's based on competition. It's a competitive environment. Every day you walk in there, and that's what we're building here, and kind of the next guy in mindset. So, like I said, I don't see weaknesses. I see a great football team that's extremely well coached and very disciplined.
Coach, how's Worley's hand, and were you close to having to go to a true freshman?
No, we weren't close. He just banged his hand a little bit. He should be fine, and that's just part of playing quarterback. And, that's part of the improvement we have to make is, we talk about keeping the quarterback clean. We can't give up hits on our quarterback. That's our investment. And that's kind of, the mindset, that we really stress with our offensive front. But he's fine.
But with Justin, it seems like it's maybe not always pretty. There's still some inconsistency, but kind of at the end of games and some key moments, he's really kind of gotten it done the last couple of weeks. Where is he in terms of some of the intangibles that you always talk about with the quarterback position?
Developing. I see him taking great strides day in and day out, from the way his preparation is off the field, in the classroom, the questions he's asking, the confidence, the overall command of the offense, the leadership capabilities, the leadership that we expect from that position. Every rep he takes is a teaching moment, so I think he's progressing. He's made some big throws now in some key games, in some key situations. Now it's just the overall consistency, setting your feet in the pocket, trusting your eyes, making quick decisions, functional intelligence, taking the classroom setting to the field, and taking care of the football. We didn't turn the football over Saturday. And anytime you don't turn the football over, you're going to have an opportunity to win the football game. When we talk about playing disciplined football, and that was a very talented and physical defense that we played Saturday, and we didn't turn the football over. So those are great strides, and again, that's part of the formula to winning football games and playing winning football.
Some of the poise he's shown kind of in the fourth quarter of these last two games, did you think that he had that, or did that maybe surprise you a little bit?
No, it's in him. We see it. It's now getting it out of him. It's having the confidence in himself and his teammates. And I think, everyone wants to point towards the quarterback position, but I've said it, is the quarterback is only 1 out of 11. There's 10 other individuals on the field, and I think what you're seeing is the players around him are performing better. Our wide receivers are making plays. Marquez North goes up and high points the ball, plays the ball in the air extremely well, makes some great catches. Alton Howard is giving us something, that we knew it was in him. So we have some players stepping up on the perimeter. We've been able to run the ball effectively and efficiently. So I think the offense coming around, and everyone thinks that Justin's playing better, and he is, but I think it's a byproduct of everyone around him as well.
But you've played number 2 on the road, didn't go real well. Now you're going to play number 1 on the road. Number 1, what kind of comparisons would you draw between those two challenges, and why do you think you're maybe better equipped now?
Well, I think Oregon and Alabama, they possess different challenges. There's a little bit different in terms of style of play. But, Alabama's so deep. They're so fundamentally sound. Their back end of their defense, they don't let you breathe. They're going to be up in our face. You will see a lot of press and different type coverages. and they don't beat themselves. You know, they're a football team that plays winning football. They make you earn everything that you get. They don't lose contain. You know, they don't have missed assignments. They're a good tackling football team. They're number one, I believe, in the SEC in total defense. They're only giving up, I believe, 9.7 points per game. You know, there's a reason for that. The results speak for themselves. Their players expect to win, you know, and so it's going to be a great challenge. Where are we going into this game as opposed to Oregon? I think we know a little bit more about ourselves. You know, I think our players understand it's a great challenge, you know, but it's also a great opportunity. But, you know, now instead of there's evidence, you know, before it was blind evidence, you know, it was belief. You know, now our players believe, you know, they can see the results. You know, so I think that we have stronger leadership in terms of belief, expectations. Our players are really starting to hold themselves to a very high level of accountability. You know, I can see a very, very small cultural change starting to happen. Have we arrived? Absolutely not. We still have a lot of work. You know, I think we all know that. But we can see small steps, you know, of progression. You know, we're progressing. And it's going to be a great challenge. And we have to take, instead of some small steps this week, we have to take some big steps forward.
Butch, why did Matt Crowder start at center, and will he start against Alabama?
Well, we'll see. You know, we'll see how Alex Bullard's ankle, you know, he's been nursing his ankle a little bit, so we'll see how he progresses, you know, and there's a number of reasons why we start individuals. You know, some is health related and some is discipline related as well.
Which was this one?
Both.
Coach, everybody knew before the season, you know, what the schedule entailed, but now that you're in the meat of it, you know, professionally, has this been different, you know, getting ready for this kind of competition every week, or is it just, you know, just your job, like I'm getting ready for the next game?
Well, I think first of all, it's your job. You know, as a coach, you never take any opponent lightly, you know, and, you know, everyone says it's coach speak, but it's really the truth, you know. The next game is the most important game, the now, you know, and so I think every coach, no matter who the opponent is, prepares with a high level of intensity and effort and mentality. You know, but I just think the overall grind of an SEC schedule, you know, the great players, the great coaching, the physicality that's required week in and week out, the mental effort, the mental intensity, you know, that I think that's the big thing, is not having a team that's up and down. You know, having a team that's consistency in performance, consistent in the way they prepare each and every day. Consistency in terms of their mental capacity to play at a high level, a high passionate level, you know, a high level of intensity week in and week out. You know, I think that's the big thing, is not experiencing the highs and lows of a season. And then I think the venues that you have to go play in, you know, you're playing in hostile environments on the road each and every week, you know, so it's, again, it's that mental endurance that it takes to compete in the SEC on a week-to-week basis. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
Along those same lines, do you feel like you'll find out a lot about your team this week, how they handle, you know, a win like Saturday going?
Well, I know this, you know, everything that occurred last week is not going to help us win this week. You know, what we've done, that's in the past. You know, it's time to move on. And you have to rely on your maturity and your leadership. But our players understand now what's at stake. You know, if anything, you know, it's how do you handle success? You know, does it drive you to want more? Do you want to continue to get better and better and better? Or do you become complacent? And that's just one win. That's win 4. You know, in the last couple of years, we won 9-10 games, and you know that's you have to push the reset button every week, and it's starting a new week over, a new game plan, the mental effort, the intensity, how you prepare, and our kids have done a great job with that. You know, I think we've been ready to play. Which is a tribute to them every week. You know, everyone talks about the energy level that we have, and that's been pretty consistent, you know, throughout the entire course of the season. And that's because of the way we practice. That's the way we meet. That's the standard and the expectation in our football program. But, you know, again, you know, you're going on the road, hostile environment, #1 team in the country. It's going to take everything that we have.
Coach, did you consider at all having Justin spike the ball earlier in the clock because of that 10-second runoff rule?
Who did you come up with that?
Huh?
Did you come up with that?
We were talking about it this morning on the show.
That's a great question. I have considered that. It was a consideration, and that's why I always like to have one timeouts, like you read my mind. I was thinking about that during the game, after the game, yesterday, and all day today. And what she's talking about is if we would have jumped off sides and we didn't have a timeout to buy it, or a helmet comes off, it's a 10-second runoff and the game's over with. And so you go, do you spike the ball and you put 11 seconds on the clock, but now you make the field goal, you're kicking off, and anything can happen. So our thought process, if you notice, we had 2 huddles. We had the first group out there, and there's so much that goes into just kicking that game-winning field goal. So we had the first huddle lined up, we had the second huddle lined up, ready to go. With that timeout, we were able to remind our kids, the discipline, don't flinch, be ready to go. And then, so we did consider that, but you know what? We pride ourselves in being a disciplined football team, and we're going to rely on our discipline down the stretch.
But you guys have held the last 2 quarterbacks under 200 yards, and both pretty good quarterbacks. I know the pass rush is developing, but what is the secondary particularly doing well to help you guys? Well,
we're playing very good team defense right now, and they're complementing each other. And there's a number of times, we talk about opportunity sacks, we talk about coverage sacks. There's a couple times, when they dropped back to throw the football, there was nowhere to go with the football. And so it aided in basically extra time for us to get to the passer and impact the quarterback. There was other times where, we came off the ball with a mentality that we expect with our defensive front. So, I could see both, but a lot of times, Jacquez Smith, I thought he was explosive off the football. And he generated a couple opportunity sacks because we thought this was Dan McCullers' best game since we've been here. He pushed the pocket. He played with a higher level of physicality and effort that we expect. And I think that Jacquez aided in that with his effort. And that's what we call in terms of opportunity sacks is, making the quarterback flush the pocket or push the pocket and you spin, off your defender and you make a sack. So I think it's been a combination. I thought our linebackers did a much better job in terms of coverage. There was a number of times where they tried to match their running back up with our linebackers, with option routes. And I thought we took great strides. And again, now this week we're going to be challenged with all that again. But I think, it's been a combination of a lot of little things adding up to big things.
How's Josh Smith going forward, and Devin Young, how did he do in his first game back, and will he have a larger role going forward?
Yeah, well, Josh Smith ran yesterday. I'll know a little bit more probably Tuesday, but we anticipate him back for the Alabama game. Devin Young, it's going to be a progression with him coming back. I thought, we put him back there for a spark on punt return, and I thought he did a great job of fair catching it in a stressful type situation with defenders around him. Again, getting him back on kickoff returns. Now that off returner has to keep him in when he's deep into the end zone. But I think another week of practice, you should see more of him. And everything is earned in practice. I keep saying it. If he comes and, he has a great week of preparation in terms of our punt returner, our kickoff returner, understanding his assignments and performs well in practice, he'll play more. And that's the same way with Alton Howard. It's the same way with Jason Kroom. It's the same way with Alex Bullard. It's the same way with Matt Crowder. That doesn't change.
Marlon Wallace has 4.5 sacks. Did you think he could have that kind of an impact?
Yeah, because he plays with a high level of energy, and he's playing through the nicks and bruises, pains associated with the football season. But I thought he really set the tone and the temperament for our defensive front on Saturday with his energy level. And again, he had some opportunity sacks, and he also created some opportunities for other individuals with his energy. So I can't say enough about him and what he's bringing to the table, not only on the field, but in the locker room and as a leader as well.
Well, can you speak to a couple of those guys like him and Dan Hood? I mean, those are the kind of players that, under some coaching staff changes, we get lost in the mix. And the seniors on their way out. Can you talk about how you integrated them and what they've done?
When you ask that question, the first word that comes to my mind is character. both these individuals of the utmost character, and, Dan Hood says it all the time, just tell me what you need, Coach. What do you need today? And, them being on the player staff, they take great ownership in that. And I'd like to feel that we've built a great relationship, a very trustworthy relationship. But these individuals have been all in. They're all in for Tennessee. And whatever we feel or they feel together, but when we present something and they understand it's for the betterment of themselves, for our football program, for Tennessee football, they've been outstanding. So I can't say enough about those two individuals. They're special people.
What you referenced, the stat with Dave Lawson's teams at halftime, when you've gone back and watched these films the last 2 weeks, do you feel like you've had the fresher team in those in-game situations against Georgia and South Carolina?
I do, and we talk about our, a work ethic, and I know everybody believes that with their football team, but, we believe that. We always talk about, making conditioning a factor, and it's just a mindset in our football program, just like everyone else says the same thing to their football team. But, you have to live it every day. You have to talk about it, and we talk about it. And a lot of times it's just a mindset. It gets back to that mental conditioning aspect, of it. And, everything that goes into it, the body language, how you present yourself, whether you're inward focused or outward focused, a snap and clear mentality, pushing the reset button after every single play and let it go and, treat every play as though it's a life of its own. That stuff may sound, kind of corny, but it is really true. The great players are able to take it one play at a time. And if you mess up, you can't let that one bad play affect you 2-3 plays down the road. And that's everything that we talk about in our football program. And sometimes it takes a while. Each individual's different. But when they get it, you can see it. I mean, it took Derek Wolfe for the Denver Broncos. It took him a complete full year. It took John Hughes. I tell the John Hughes story all the time. It took him a year and a half. And John Hughes is one of the greatest stories I've ever had in coaching, starting defensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns. I believe he's a third-round draft pick. It's the middle of his senior year, and nobody even knows who John Hughes is. And all of a sudden, we're in scout team on a Tuesday, and I look down the opposite end, and John Hughes, after every play, is turning and sprinting and touching the far sideline and sprinting back to the huddle and then playing the play. And this continues to go on. And I kind of get a smile on my face, but I walk over there. I said, John, what are you doing? He goes, Coach, I'm getting myself in shape to play winning football. And all of a sudden, after about game 5, every NFL scout is walking in wanting to know where this guy came from. Football rewards those who are in great condition, mentally and physically. And a lot of individuals, it's hard for them to push that, to simulate those game conditions in practice. But what happened is it only takes one. And all of a sudden, by the end of the year, our entire defense was doing it. That's kind of the mindset that we're trying to build here. Do we have a long ways to go? Yes. But I'm starting to see it developing here. When you have video evidence of that now, what's the value to this team, to the current team, when you can point to film and show them? Well, I think, before it's blind faith. It's they're believing it, but they're like, Coach, we're doing all this, but we're not seeing the wins and losses. But I see, I said it in here 2 weeks ago in my press conference, I see improvement every single day. And sometimes it don't occur in wins, but I see it every day. I see the mentality changing. I see the attitude. I see the relentlessness. I see the film study. I see the team coming together. I see guys now calling unit meetings on their own and watching film together. So I see that. But now, the last couple games, they're starting to see that, hey, you know what? This stuff works. We're searching for the inches. But again, you have to prove yourself. This is the most humbling profession in sport in the world. You have to prove yourself week in and week out. Alabama doesn't care what we did last week, And so we have to go reprove ourselves again, and it's going to be a great challenge.
Even before the season, Michael Flaherty was talking about how much more confident he was going into this year. I'm just wondering, what did y'all say to him after y'all arrived to kind of boost that confidence, or what was your initial impression of him?
I think just developing a relationship with him. I found it a very early time being here that he took hard coaching. You could coach him. He listened, very coachable, but he's extremely competitive, and he wants to be great. And right now, he's, like I said, we've improved defensively because of him, and offensively, we're now generating some more points because of field position. Field position in the game of football is everything, and he's playing with a lot of confidence. And so he's been a weapon for us in everything that he's done in terms of kickoffs, punting the football, and place kicking.
How was Ray John's knee after taking that shot?
Yeah, he's fine.
Do you expect him to be limited at all this week?
No.
Butch, how does Amari Cooper compare to other pass catchers you've seen so far this year?
Well, Amari challenges in so many ways. First of all, he has great speed. He has great length. He can run. He can go get the ball. He can high point it. Very, very athletic and run after the catch. So it's going to be a challenge for us.
Do you account as safety to just him to help over the top, or do you have to have that guy?
You have to mix it up. We're going to have to mix our coverages up because also the quarterback's a great player, and he's seen anything and everything from coverage standpoint to everything. So we have to do a great job of really, really mixing the coverages up, not letting them get comfortable. But again, not only can they throw the football, they're imposing up front. They have great running backs, and they can run the football. So it's a great challenge. And when they play action pass, we have to be disciplined. I get back to our eye discipline. We can't have eye violations, and we're going to have to play discipline in everything that we do to have an opportunity to compete on Saturday.
Which, going back to Pilardi for a second, there's a school of thought maybe that sometimes you don't coach the special teams guys as hard as maybe a lineman because they're fragile confidence or whatever, but it seems like you coach them pretty hard. Through the years, have you developed, do you coach some guys harder than others, or do you see what some guys can take as far as a fragile confidence thing like a kid?
Yeah, I think each individual is different. You treat everyone fairly, but every individual responds to a different type of coaching. So I think, the great coaches, the great teachers, they coach, they teach, they mentor every individual in their own way. But you treat everyone fairly. The expectations, the standards never change. But I like to apply pressure. I want to have confidence as a coach that, he's going out there and he has to perform under pressure. I want to make sure that he also has to perform under pressure in practice. So that's why we do a lot of the things that we do. I want our players to be thick-skinned, and so I try to, as set that temperament, that mood, that temperament in practice, and they've responded and they've done a great job with that.
What does it mean to you to coach into this game? I know that obviously it's kind of a week-to-week profession and you look at just the football team and X's and O's, but this is one of the, more important games traditionally in Southern football. Does that mean anything to you for coaching in this game? Well,
I understand the rivalry and I understand the tradition that's in this football game. But every game I coach in is critical. This isn't any more important than last week or 3 weeks prior or the following week. I put a lot of pressure on myself, but every game is the next game's the most important game in terms of coaching. So, this week is critical. I put a lot of pressure on myself and our staff and our preparation. We talk about pride in preparation. And this week we have to be extremely prepared for anything and everything. And not only are you preparing your kids physically, but mentally going into a hostile environment, playing against some very, very skilled football players and athletes in the physicality of the game and, preparing their mindset and making sure they're ready to execute in the small details. And we put a tremendous amount of pressure on ourselves as coaches for that. Game days are for the players and managing the football game. So, every game to me is the end-all, be-all every game. I take it 1 week at a time.
Thanks, guys. Well, the players up there.
Thank you.